Hi, Instagrammers. I did a live video a few minutes ago, and I am not that good with technology, so I forgot to share it. And with live videos, if you don't share, you lose it. So I guess this is a second take on the topic that I'll be discussing today. And I am looking at fatherless daughters and why it's so important for our fathers to have a very good relationship with their daughters. The fatherlessness that a daughter experiences has a significant impact on how she views relationships, her perception of men, and also her performance. So, for example, fatherlessness is related, research has found that fatherlessness is actually related to whether or not a daughter will go into male-dominated field or pursue male-dominated subjects, such as math and science. So when a daughter has her father in her life, she's more likely to take the opportunity to explore those areas, those subjects. Also, cognitive ability. Girls who have a father in their lives, they're more likely to do better at school and also have higher scores on cognitive abilities tests. Now, fatherless daughters, they are more likely to lack a sense of protection, and they may feel discouraged, unloved, and rejected. Now, as it relates to the protection aspect, I really want fathers to realize that when you're not in your daughter's life, you increase her risk of being sexually abused. Daughters with very active fathers, predators are less likely to go after them. So I want you to really think about that. Think about the kind of danger you might put your daughter in when you leave her vulnerable by not playing a very active, pivotal role in her life. So for teenage daughters who are fatherless, they are at a greater risk of experiencing teen pregnancy, low self-esteem, behavioral issues. They're more likely to experiment with drugs and alcohol. They're more likely to experience depression and dropping out of school at the university level. So when they experience challenges with completing their studies, that kind of resilience that is needed, they're more likely to not have that. And daughters are more likely to experience poverty when her father is not in her life. So there's something I want to share with you. Girls who have little contact with their fathers, especially during the adolescent years, have a greater difficulty forming lasting intimate relationships in adulthood. So think about that. You are not in your daughter's life. You increase the chance of her having difficulty creating an intimate relationship. So it could be that she has met a really amazing, healthy guy, but because of some of the wounds that she has with her relationship with you, she can end up self-sabotaging that relationship. And the reason being is that fatherless daughters have more trust issues because of the damage done with the relationship with their father. They don't communicate as well with partners, so they might think that a certain way of communicating with men, especially if they don't have examples of man-woman interactions to learn how to communicate healthily with a man, that can have a detrimental impact in their intimate relationship. They also fear intimacy. Again, you don't want to be too vulnerable. You know, your father wasn't in your life, so you kind of build this wall around your emotions. And they have more trouble negotiating and controlling their emotions. And an interesting thing that data has shown is that teenage daughters, when they become adults and they get engaged, they're more likely than sons to believe that the marriage will fail. So they're less likely to think that, yeah, we can weather the storm, everything will be perfect. In actuality, they are more likely to see the doom and gloom aspect of the relationship. So fathers, I know that sometimes having a relationship with a mother can, especially if your relationship with her didn't end on a positive note, I know that sometimes it can be very hard to move away from the negativity of the mother. But I want you to really consider the long-term impact of not having you in her life. It's going to affect her relationship with her partner. It's going to affect her relationship with men in general and also her children. So yes, if you need to get a mediator, whether it's a family friend, a pastor, a lawyer, whoever it is, to get in between you and the mother, you need to do that, because if you don't, there's so many negative things that you're making your daughter be more susceptible to, and that is not something that should be taken lightly. Now, mothers, I have to talk to you too, because as women, we have a tendency to hold on to negative emotions and we want to use our children as weapons. Please understand that you're raising somebody's mother and wife. When you use your daughter as a weapon to get back at the father, all of that toxicity you're putting on your daughter, what kind of woman is she going to be when she's an adult and in relationship with somebody? What kind of daughter is she going to mother she's going to be to her daughter? What kind of messages is she going to share with her daughter about men that can also have a negative impact on how your granddaughter might interact with men? Now, fatherless teens as well, they're more sexually aggressive and they engage in sexual activities more often than others. Girls without fathers also become desperate and aggressive for male attention. And you will see that where it's usually the case where men are doing the courting and trying to get some girls to, fall in love with him and all of that. Fatherless daughters are more likely to do the reverse. They're the ones on the hunt. They're the ones courting, and they're the ones trying to get the attention of men. And that may not be necessarily a good thing. So she's doing that because she thinks, okay, the father is not there in her life. This is what she needs to do to get attention from men, which is not the healthy route. So the reason why teenage daughters experience so many challenges in intimate relationships when they are adults, those teenage daughters who did not have their father, is because the father-daughter relationship is a model for interacting with men. Through interacting with her father, she gets an idea of how men think, how they view the world, and how they interact with women. She also learns how to communicate with men. So if her father is one who is very unreliable, in and out of her life, that's a form of insecure attachment. She's going to take that into her relationships with men when she's an adult, and she's going to be acting on that. So she's going to be very insecure, very controlling, and not knowing, being grounded in who she is as a woman. So think about it, fathers, that it's not just about the money. Yes, some of you might be running away because you think the child support is too much. But think about the long-term impact after the finances on how she's going to interact with other men in her life. Now, there are differences in how fatherless daughters respond based on the circumstances that created the fatherlessness. So if it's a case where it's divorce or separation, so the separation is the one where they weren't married, but they were together and they broke up. When daughters experience that, they seek more attention from boys and they're more physical and have close contact with boys their age. They are more critical of their fathers and they have aggressive behavior and constantly seek attention from men, as mentioned before. And then they have diminished respect for the fathers, and sometimes that's related to the fact that the mother is saying a bunch of things about the father. Now, daughters who experience fatherlessness because of the death of their father, they tend to be on the opposite end of the spectrum where they avoid masculine contact and they have more positive concept of their father. So the anger, the bitterness that you would see in daughters who are separated because of divorce or separation, you will not see that in the one who lost her father through death. And they tend, the daughter who loses her father through death tend to experience more sadness about the loss compared to anger. Now, there's something that I really need to share, and so fathers really get it. Girls whose fathers left, studies have shown that girls whose fathers left when they're very young, say early childhood, 5, 6 years old, had the highest level of early sexual activity and pregnancy, followed by those whose father left at a later age, followed by those whose father is still present in their life. Think about that, men. The earlier you disappear out of your daughter's life, the earlier it is that she's going to engage in sexual activity and increase her chance of experiencing teenage pregnancy. Your presence is not something to joke about. It is crucial, and I really want you to get that. All right? A study from University of Canterbury also showed that father's absence may trigger a hormonal change in girls and jumpstart puberty. Can you see that? So the earlier you disappear out of your daughter's life, the more likely it is she's going to experience puberty at a younger age. And the longer a girl goes without her father, the earlier the period begins, her puberty period begins. So fathers, there are lots of, relationship issues going on with the mother. But I want you to think long term. Think about your daughter, her children, and their children. What you do now will have an impact on several generations to come. And yes, you might feel that, yes, a lot of men might feel that they failed because they didn't work out the relationship with the mother. Not because the relationship with your mother didn't work, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a terrible father. And that's something that you need to really understand. Now, I'm going to switch and talk to the mother. The mother-child relationship, mother-daughter relationship, influence the father-daughter relationship. So a lot of times when there's a separation or divorce, mothers tend to lean emotionally more on their daughter compared to their sons. And what happens is that you have a process called parentification, where the roles are reversed. The daughter becomes the mother and the parent, and the mother becomes the child. And she's unloading all these emotional things about her experience with the father. What happens is that you are priming your daughter to think negatively of your ex-partner, and that will have an impact on her relationship. Also, this whole disclosure of damaging information about the father, if he maybe was the one who cheated or he did something, you're priming your daughter with all these negative messages, and that will cause her to have a negative view of her father. Again, mothers, not because the relationship with you might have gone sour, it means that he's going to be a terrible father. There are some men who are terrible partners but amazing fathers. Allow your daughter to make her own decision as it relates to how she interacts with her father. Don't go and tell her all the negative information that you perceive. Again, mothers realize that we create our reality. Everything we're experiencing with our ex-partners, we co-created it. We co-created it by our expectations, by our behavior. It was not him alone. You have to learn to take 100% responsibility for how you showed up in the relationship, 100% responsibility for choosing him because he didn't force you to be with him, 100% responsibility for healing your wounds, because it might be that you brought certain wounds into the relationship that caused the relationship to end, or those wounds influence you to pick a partner that might not have been the right partner for you. So you have to take 100% responsibility and stop putting all the blame on him. Stop bad-mouthing him. All right. Studies show that when young adults reflect on their parents' separation, the data shows that more of them say that the mothers were more likely to criticize, badmouth, or demean the other parents compared to the father. So again, we have to look at the role that we play in creating a negative atmosphere with our daughter, between our daughter and her father. Now, fathers, it's extremely important. There's so many benefits. When you are separated from your daughter, it's, as it relates to the same household, it's important that you try the weekends, the holidays, to spend as much time as possible with her, because daughters of divorce or separation whose father is actively in their life has a higher level of self-confidence, self-esteem, improved mental well-being. They do better at school, academically, and also on cognitive abilities test. And as it relates to the adjusting to the divorce, they're more likely to adjust better compared to those whose father just up and ran altogether. They also experience less stress, stress-related symptoms such as insomnia. They're less likely to be overweight. Their whole perception of men also will be better. So you reduce the chance of her entering a relationship as an adult thinking all else will fail based on the relationship you have with her. So fathers, yes, finances are important, but think about the relationship. The relationship that you have with your daughter will have a lasting impact. And mothers, stop using your daughter as a weapon to hurt the man, because you refuse to take 100% responsibility for how you created this situation between you and him. It's extremely important that you stop using your daughters as weapons. If you need to heal your wounds because of whatever happened in the relationship or before, book a session with a coach, a therapist. I'm a coach. My contact information is in my bio. Book a complimentary session with me and I can help you to heal yourself so you can show up better for your daughter. The same goes to fathers. If you want to reconnect with your daughters and you're not quite sure how to do it, make sure you book a session with me as well. We are creating so many wounded children who will become wounded adults, and then we're surprised why certain things are happening in relationships. We need, as adults, to take a step, take 100% responsibilities. Father, don't run away from building a relationship with your daughter. There's too much at risk. I cannot implore. Too much at risk for you to do that. It's not just impacting her, but her children, especially when she becomes an adult. Mothers, move out of the way. You're hurt, you're traumatized, whatever it is. You get the help and allow the man to build a relationship with his daughter in a positive and effective way. So that is my talk today about building a relationship, and I will see you another time as we discuss building healthy families and creating generational success. Take care. Goodbye for now.